Hi everybody and welcome to another video. My name is Richard Seiditz, aka Telam01, and I'm the owner of redpants.lol. Today I'm going to be talking about brake pads, and what I have here, gloves, are a pair of Porterfield brake pads, and as you can see they are different. This one is an R4-S and this one is an R4. The main difference is that the R4-S is made for street driving while the R4 is made for track driving. With a lot of the stuff that I do, I like to know that it can handle both street and track. That's how I design all my stuff. That's how I like my car being set up, because even though I don't track my car all the time, I do it enough to where I want everything on the car to be able to handle it. In addition, if you do any kind of aggressive street driving, which is not okay, unless you're on a highway in Mexico, you want to have the right equipment for it. So I've actually noticed that in emergency situations, at highway speeds, if I need to stop immediately from, say, 70, 75 miles an hour, which is perfectly legal on those roads, to a dead stop, this may have an issue. It does work well, but once it's hot, it starts to struggle. The downside to running a trackpad is that you have an increased amount of dust and noise, and you don't have as much stopping power when the pad is cold. The material specifically is designed to work when hot. So it's sort of a balancing act coming up with a pad that can handle both street and track. There are some pads that can do it, but finding them for a given car takes a lot of work. You also have a lot of variables, like how much noise there's going to be. Something that you can do to help mitigate noise is proper bedding. What that basically does is you drive the car at a certain speed, say 80 miles an hour, and you do a hard stop, not all the way to a stop, but a hard braking so that the pad heats up and transfers material from the pad to the rotor. What that does is it basically, in a layman's terms, matches up the material on the pad and the rotor so that there isn't any noise, or a lot less noise. It also improves your braking performance. On a pad like the R4-S, you have a very strong chamfer. It's that beveled edge that you see, and it's on the front and the rear of the pad. And what that does is it makes it so that the contact between the pad and the rotor is a lot smoother than you'll find on a pad like the R4, which is not chamfered whatsoever. What you'll find with brake pads that have no chamfering is that the pad material can actually build up as you use them, and that starts to cause problems like chattering and squeal. With an R4S or most street pads that are beveled, you don't have that issue. The downside to the chamfering is that you can see the pad surface is much less on the R4S than it is on the R4. So you'll have better performance with the R4 than you will with the R4S, but there are downsides to it. So what I'll be doing for the next set of videos is testing out these pads. I've got another video that I'm about to do where I'm going to be installing the R4 pads so you can see how that's done. It's pretty straightforward. I did an overview of it in my very first video. And in that video, I also talked about the R4S pad on street and track, so it's worth a view as well if you haven't seen it. But I'm also going to be doing updates to see how well the R4 pad performs. And I'm not going to be only focusing on track duty, because that's what this is made for, and so we can assume reasonably that it's going to do well. There are some pads are better than others. It's really a trial and error thing because it's also subjective. Some drivers will have completely different opinions about two different pads or one pad. It's very subjective because it's the style, it's a performance, there's a lot that goes into it. So what I'm going to be focusing on, however, is whether or not a track pad like the R4 can be used on the street. The very first concern that you're going to have is cold weather stopping. So when the pads are cold, a street pad like the R4S is designed to work pretty well. A track pad is made for higher temperatures, so cold temperatures are secondary. So what you need to be careful of with a pad like the R4 is whether or not it'll work well in the cold. So that's something I'm going to be paying very close attention to. I'm also going to be paying attention to how much noise there is. The last thing you want to deal with is loud squealing when you're coming to a stop, especially in like a parking lot where people are looking at your car, because it's pretty, but if it sounds bad, kind of takes away from the moment. I'm expecting to have a lot of dust with these. There's nothing you can really do about dust on an aggressive pad. It's just the nature of it. If anything, I'm going to use it as sort of a reminder that I need to wash my car more often because I'm really bad at keeping up with that. So this is just an introductory introduction to the two pads. Like I said, in the next few videos, we're actually going to be going over them and getting into the performance of the R4 specifically in more detail. So if you have any questions up to this point or for the future, please feel free to give me an email. My name is Richard Seidlitz. You can get me at rich@redpants.lol or on my website, redpants.lol, through the contact page.